And welcome back. Here we are with our second week of February, our fifth weekend recap. And we had some pretty big standout performances this past weekend, not just on the collegiate circuit, but on the professional circuit. And granted, here we focus on college track and field, but I wanted to also take some time to highlight the great performances we saw this weekend at the Millrose Games and even on the European circuit. We saw Grant Holloway 7.32 in the 60 hurdles, which looks like he may even eventually break his own world record. And then conversely, here stateside at the Millrose Games, we saw Divine Charlton by way of Bahamas break that world record 7.67 in the 60 hurdles. And I could have sworn the world record was 6.71 because when I saw 7.67, I was like, oh man, that's a fast time. Well, of course it's a fast time. You actually didn't see 7.61. You saw 7.71 in a video from the Great Russian many years ago. But 7.67, Charlton is really on her A game. And I think the women's 60-meter hurdles will be a very, very tough event on the Olympic stage this year. And even at the World Championships in a couple weeks. But back stateside, we also had a new American record in the 3K, in the 5K with Grant Fisher. I mean, it's just what a great weekend we had in track and field, and kind of overshadowed by the Super Bowl, but we can't ignore the fact that we had some great performances. But getting started, our first leg this week is going to be our usual first leg, the sprints and hurdles. There were two noticeable performances, one on the women's side and one on the men's side. On the women's side, it was Jamisha Ford, the freshman from South Carolina, who again just continues to have an incredible indoor season. I mean, 22:36 in the 200 indoors. It was just a few years ago that the national record was 22:4, set by Veronica Campbell Brown, the Veronica Campbell Brown, who then set it as a junior at Arkansas and won a national title with that. 22:36 as a freshman. I I just continue to be impressed with her development. And I think it was very smart of South Carolina to hire Coach Tim Hall. He coaches Christian Coleman and a number of, very, very talented athletes. This may be his best female athlete I think he's ever coached. For her to have that type of time, at this point in the season and in her career as a freshman, I mean, man, that's impressive. And she's primarily a 400 runner, but I don't know. She may just simply be one of those super steadily 200-meter runners that can run the 400. So more to come from her. I think she'll kind of figure her way out under Coach Hall. And at South Carolina, they're known for producing great long sprinters. So she may be the next big 400-meter runner. We never know, but she's on a phenomenal track. And on the men's side, it's Terrence Jones of Texas Tech, who just every year seems to be near the top and always seems to be dropping our draws. I mean, 6.47 in the 60. I had said we were going to need a 6.4 to win the national title, and I'm more convinced now of that than ever. What a strong performance he had, and his teammate wasn't too far off. DeAndre Swint, 6.49. And yes, that's their at altitude times, but we can't ignore those performances, and they will be ready come championship title season. And him not being able to perform the way he wanted to at last year's indoor meet, I think he has some redemption, and he really would like to win that national title that seems to have eluded him because I think he really is the top 60-meter sprinter in college track and field. Again, 6.47 mid-February, we may see him go under Christian Coleman's 6.45 to beat the national record. And handing off the baton to our second leg, we're going to look at the distance. And distance had some really eye-popping numbers. And I had an outline already written for the mile, but as you are probably aware, if you saw the Millrose Games last night, that had quickly changed. But we'll start in the 800 on the women's side, and we'll look at Michaela Rose of LSU. LSU known for great 800-meter runners, but they just seem to have stepped it up in recent years. And this young lady just is another reason why. I mean, 1:59.49 in February. What a talented young 800-meter runner Michaela Rose is, and she seems to just continue to rise to the challenge. And we've been waiting for someone to dip under 2 minutes. We thought it would be the two young ladies at Stanford, Juliet Whitaker and Royce Willis, but it's Michaela Rose. 159.49 against an A-class field. She clearly is ready to kind of take over. This 800-meter race come championship time, could we see a sub 159 indoors? That just doesn't, it doesn't compute. I mean, we haven't seen that since the thing moved, but this mark is the second best mark in NCAA history. So it's quite possible we'll see her break that record. Quite possible. I'm not saying that she will, but I think it's possible. And shifting up to the mile, I actually wrote the outline with Flomena Asco of Florida, who ran that great race in Boston. And I just thought, oh, well, Florida really just seems to be kicking in high gear on their distance side, and including in their team battle, because, man, they have two heavy distance runners that are going to perform well. But Maya Ramsden, in a strong field at the Millrose Games, she finished eighth overall, but her time was 4:24:83. She is the defending 1,500-meter champion, and this was kind of her stamp to remind not only me, but many others that I am still the top dog. I am still number one, 4:24:83, almost 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, including Flomena Asco, who ran 4:26:47 at the Valentine Invitational at Boston University. But give Ramsden her props. She really put out a great time. I think it is also indicative she may not just be ready for the professional circuit yet, so we may see her again next year. But we can't ignore the 4:24. We now are looking at having a total of 7 runners under sub 4:30 already. So it's very clear that that's what it's going to take to win. I suggested that in the preview, but that type of time, 4:24:83, she's probably going to lower it as the season goes on. And kudos to Harvard for continuing to put out not just great scholar students, but some really talented athletes. Now, shifting gears to the men's side, we had one standout performance on distance, and that's the new number one in the 3,000. That's Kai Robinson. His name is always going to be mentioned. Anytime he steps on the track, he seems to put up not only a great time, but a great performance. He is a gamer. He is a championship level and a championship winner. But he really put his foot down in this 3K, 7:36:69. Yes, you did hear me correctly. I did say 7:36:69. Kai Robinson, the new number one, and that event is getting more and more competitive as the season goes on, as we expected. We're looking at right now a total of 9 guys under 740. He is the only one under 737, but it's going to be a really great race come later this season. And moving to the third leg, we'll look at our field events, and we had 4 new number one performances, some real standouts, specifically on the women's side. We have Lamar Diston of Texas A&M, who I thought had ran out of eligibility. Apparently not. She still has some, and she's making the most of it. Her debut this season, 6'5.5" or 1.97 meters in the high jump. Ma'am, we know that you're championship level, but that in February, 6'5.5". Jamaican jumps is just on a different level right now. Their emphasis on the jumps, just as well as the sprints, indicates that their track program is just really almost to the level of superiority to everyone else. It just seems that they're focused on performing at championship levels consistently. And Lamar Diston is their premier high jumper, and she is the NCAA's premier high jumper as the defending champion still. We can't ignore what Charity Huffnagel can do of now Kentucky, then of Ball State. But right now, Lamar Diston is the girl, or excuse me, the woman of the moment. And we'll see them compete in 2 weeks at the SEC Indoor Championship. So we'll know what Huffnagel is capable of. But we also will see her at the Indoor Championships in a month, and that's where she really will put her foot down. But we can't ignore the defending champion, Lamar Diston, who just continues to put up high marks. And then we have the shot put. We have a legend's daughter, Brock Lesnar. Even though he's embroiled in a lot of legal battles, his daughter is really taking her dad's strength. And Maya Lesnar of Colorado State is our new shot put leader, 62 feet, 6 3 1/4 inches, or 19.07 meters. What a throw! And you'll see that picture of her that's going around the internet. Yes, she is clearly built for the shot put. Clearly, her father may be involved in her training regimen because she looks outstanding. And she's performing at a high level. Kudos to Colorado State, who's over the years been really putting out some great shot putters, along with some great sprinters. Let's not ignore that, too. And then Jelani Davis of Ole Miss. We cannot seem to go a year without having a top thrower from Ole Miss. Kudos to Connie Price Smith, because here's another one. Jelani Davis, our first 80-foot throw in the weight throw, 80 feet, 10 and 1/4 inches, or 24.64 meters. Um, this event was labeled kind of open, but I don't know. I think Davis, she hit a mark that nobody else has been able to. Almost hit 81 feet, but to be the sole 80-foot jumper, or excuse me, thrower at this point in the season, let's give her credit. She may be the favorite, and we need to probably rest on that. And on the men's side, you have Ruben Banks of Alabama, who transferred from Arkansas in the weight throw, 78 feet, 4 1/4 inches, or 23.88 meters. Alabama rounding themselves into a phenomenal, well developing program in every area. They've had great throwers. This is no surprise. And perhaps that's the reason why Ruben Banks made the transfer from Arkansas to Alabama. Um, and that mark and this new number one performance is indicative that his decision to move on was the right one. And he has that great picture you're going to see up on the screen. Yes, he is built tough, and I think he put himself in a position where he can be considered as a dark horse. Can't give him that title of favorite yet because, again, this event going into the season was wide open anyway, and we still need to see more because it has been so many changes in this event. But I think Ruben Banks, with a mark of that quality, definitely needs to be considered a contender. And then moving on to our anchor leg, let's take a look at this video of the men's 4x4.
Hey man, that's what we do out here. Yeah.
What a great race that was. Arizona State smartly put Justin Robinson on the opening leg. I just initially when I was watching this, I was like, I don't know if that's the smartest thing. I mean, because Florida's going to make sure they have an anchor, and he did run a strong anchor, running that 44-9 split. But it seemed to have had Florida constantly chasing them. And it was almost a full second lead at the exchange. Robinson had a clear comfort and never seemed to, and Arizona State never let up. And Florida was constantly chasing them. Now, we can't ignore the times, 302.73 to 302.78. So Florida did close that gap. And I'm quite positive what this indicates is Coach Holloway may tinker with that relay order. And maybe Arizona State will too. I find it ironic that Armin Hall is one of the sprint coaches at Arizona State. He and famously was a phenomenal Gator athlete in the 400, ironically, and an NCAA champion at 400 meters. So we can't forget that. I just think that this 4x4 relay this year is going to be even tougher than it has been in years past. And that's saying something because the past couple of years of 4x4, both men and women have been incredible. But the men's this year, because I think Arkansas on the women's side has already sewn it up. There's really no one that close. I think South Carolina has a strong team. I do think Texas will eventually put together a pretty decent team, along with potentially USC. But I think Arkansas has sewn that up on the women's side. I don't really think there's that much competition against what is an insanely deep program in that event. But on the men's side, it's Arizona State, it's Florida, it's USC running a 303.1, and it's also Arkansas having 304. Texas A&M being able to compete. Texas Tech really hasn't gone against anybody, and they put up great marks. I mean, there are about 7 or 8 teams that are capable of winning this event with great marks. And the truth is seeding is going to matter because there can only be 4 in a heat, and you clearly want to be one of the top 4 because you want to be able to compete against those top teams to be able to put up a great time to win the national title in that event. And I think the 4x4 is just going to be so competitive. And then our team title picture, things cleared up a little bit. I think Arkansas on the women's side is going to have a strong challenge from Florida. Florida has seemed to me 2 strong distance runners along with a great DMR. We saw what Ramia Elliott could do in the 400. Still waiting on to see her put up a really eye-popping time. I would like to see her in the low 52s at this point, and she may get there. Along with Kayla Davis, we're still waiting for them to kind of move on, but their 4x4 is not at the level that an Arkansas or a South Carolina is. In the hurdles, they have Grace Stark, who put up that 7.95 to win the Tyson Invitational. And she's also highly competitive in the 60 meters. And we're looking at them having great throwers as well and great jumpers. I really think Florida can score in areas where Arkansas is not necessarily the strongest, but Arkansas can really pound them in the areas where they're strong. I think the team battle will come down between those two. And on the men's side, I think that it clearly is Texas Tech. They proved that they have the depth, the insane level of depth in the sprints and the hurdles. They are 3 to 4 strong in the 60, 3 strong in the 200, have a decent 400-meter runner, but a great group of 400-meter runners to put together a phenomenal relay. They have some incredible hurdlers, strong jumpers, and they have some pretty talented distance athletes. They're going to score in bunches and high. It to me right now it doesn't really seem close, but I think it is clearly Texas Tech at the top. I don't think anyone else is chasing them right now. I think the battle will be for second, third, and fourth, and that will probably be between Florida, potentially Florida State. You're looking at a very strong USC team. You're looking at a strong Texas team, a very strong Texas squad, and a solid Arkansas men's squad. I mean, this is probably one of the best squads they've put together in a while, where at one point we thought they were going to really compete. And you can't ignore Stanford or Oregon, but I think that Texas Tech is really that squad at this point. And we'll know more come Big 12 championship time in a couple weeks. But who's really chasing all of that and that high quality that they have? So for me right now, I think the team title picture is clear on the men's side. It is Texas Tech, and on the women, it'll be between Florida and Arkansas. So that's our recap for this week. Yep, short and sweet. We didn't have that many number 1 performances, but we had quite a few standout marks. We're getting ready to head into our final weekend of the regular season. And then guess what? We'll be in championship mode. But I also do want to make a mention. I did mention in the last podcast or the last video that there would be a preview video for the Tyson Invitation. Unfortunately, I had a loss in my family, and I wasn't able to get it out in enough time. But I am working on trying to have more preview videos. There will be a preview video for each of the major conferences. And that does not include the Pac-12 because we know they don't have an indoor championship, but we also know the Pac-12 will be no more at the end of this year. Sad. College realignment because of college football has made so many unfortunate changes, but we will have a few set of preview championship videos coming your way. But as always, please like and subscribe. Any feedback that you have, it'll be appreciated. Whether positive or negative, I want to grow this channel. I want it to be better, and I want our sport to grow. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to speaking with you next week.